Right guys, Mark Crossfield here, and I'm here with Chris again from Odyssey and Callaway. Been with the company 17 years.
10 years. 7 years on Odyssey.
Sorry, yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. He's been here long enough. And we're talking putter fitting. I think it's a subject that's quite misunderstood, and I just feel a little bit as well like people aren't quite empowered to know A, that they can do putter fitting, and then B, how it might be able to help them. Everyone's very aware that they should get their spin rate and launch angle just precise as when they're hitting it all over the face, when maybe, you know, getting some more sensible ideas about what their putter can do for them as well could really help them know their scores, I think. So, just stop you there, because I don't want you to bomb my famous line. He watches, he knows what's coming. Let's get stuck in. Right, Chris, so putter fitting. So, you know, we got millions of different shapes in putters. This is the one I use in the older version. I love this shape. So what makes me say I love this shape? What empowers me to know that I love this shape? Well, I've got good memories of holding putts with it. I'm kind of familiar with its feel, how I want it to move, what it I feel I can do to the ball with that putter. When people go for putter fittings, what should they be looking for, in your opinion?
So, you're right, absolutely right about drivers where you're chasing numbers, chasing spin and launch characteristics. With putters, it's much more of an art, and it's not as much of a science as with some of the full swing clubs.
Yeah.
With that, you know, I always begin with everybody that I fit or teach is the most important thing is the look. You want to look down at a putter, you want to be confident. It's something that when you're standing over that 3-footer to win a major, perhaps, you need to be confident in the putter that you're looking at. So it starts there.
Well, before you go on, sorry to interrupt you there, that's an interest. I find that point interesting in its own, because lots of people will say to me, well, I don't know what I like the look of.
Right.
And I think that's the familiarity part, isn't it? That they need to maybe build up.
That's right. And so, you know, it's either working with that same putter and getting familiar with it, or it's then understanding, all right, well, what are your issues in your putting stroke? If you tend to have alignment issues, there's a lot of different putters out there that can really help with that. And whether it's something like our Big T or Versa, or even two-ball alignment, we've sold over 5 million two-balls to people, you know, 25 plus majors. You know, it's an alignment that works, it's simple, it makes sense to people.
I mean, this one you see it the world over, and when this one has become kind of a modern classic, isn't it? You know, there are other shapes which are classic shapes from from almost the beginning till as golf continues on, we'll just keep seeing that shape.
Absolutely.
And this one's kind of standing a test of time, isn't it?
It's definitely become one of them.
And it's absolutely, and it's that alignment aid that it offers that people are dying into, isn't it?
Yeah, and we've offered, you know, little tweaks to it by framing it with the black lines there, and
giving it
really
wings,
highlighting the two ball, giving it wings, giving it stability, doing a lot of different things.
Making it
counterbalance, tank grips, you know, all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
And every time that we do launch a new two ball, it tends to be the best selling putter in our line. It's just been a phenomenal success for about 15 years now. But the key is it works because it gives people the ability to align better. And so when people have those issues, you can take them down a completely different path of putters to fit them into, to get them into the right head shape with alignment as kind of the driving factor. Now, if alignment's not an issue, then you can start looking at other putters that maybe are more set up towards their stroke type or towards their setup. Typically, if people are closer to the ball, they've got a straighter back and straight through stroke.
Yeah.
If they're further away from the ball, they tend to have a little bit more arc and maybe fit them into something like a number 9 like this.
Which is where I am a lot more with that. It's interesting. I think an interesting point as well, because the reason I picked this putter is purely on looks. I just love the way it looks. Yeah. There's also a part of me, and this sounds really silly, but it's true. I'm going to say this on camera. Are you ready for this? I use this putter because I remember Phil using it and holding lots of putts. I used to use a putter that Sevi used to use when I used to watch him play, and I wanted to use that putter. Yeah. So even little things like that mental image of wanting to look like those successful people would help me feel better about the choice of putter I made. Yeah. Now, that doesn't work so well on, say, irons or drivers.
Yep.
You know, I can't use a 1-iron like Sandy Lyle used to be able to rip off the tee. Even though I wanted to, I realised I couldn't, so I bit the bullet and went to a 5-wood or a 3-wood. But with putting, you can still build around those kind of models a little bit, can't you?
Absolutely, and again, it goes back to the confidence end of it. And when you have something that you're confident in, whether it's when you're a new kid, or a young kid and you get new shoes, you run faster because you feel like you have something new on your feet. And same thing with a putter. If you're confident in it, you're going to be more confident in your stroke. You're going to trust your stroke more, and you're going to hold more putts because of it.
Absolutely. And then what about things like grips? So what I always find interesting is, say, Super Stroke's very fashionable at the moment.
Absolutely.
And they come on Odyssey works. I don't know if do people pay more for one of these grips?
Yeah, there's a slide up charge for the Super Stroke.
So it's a premium grip, then you could call it. I only like these grips on certain shaped putters, so I can never have this on that.
Yes.
But if you give me this, the big alignment ones, Super Stroke makes sense. I mean, you guys got any kind of data or any info on how different people have enjoyed different grips? What's your take on the grips? Because that's a big choice for people at the moment when they're fitting their putters.
There's always outliers. Again, it starts with feel. What are you comfortable with in your hands? And then if you go towards the technical aspect of it, a Super Stroke typically helps people not to break down their wrist throughout their stroke. And that's a common thing we see a lot of amateurs do.
Yeah.
And so by putting it on the putter, it just helps them develop a smoother stroke.
Okay.
You mentioned different head shapes. Now, we see some of the best players in the world with a Super Stroke on a head shape like this.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But when we look at the amateur level, we don't want to see as much rotation of the face with something like a face balanced 2-ball. And so by putting the Super Stroke on there and keeping people from breaking their wrists, it's a perfect combination of the Super Stroke on a big mallet putter like that.
Absolutely. And then obviously you've got length. I mean, all the putters I've got in my hands here, I think are 35 inch.
Yep.
As soon as I pick these up, I just don't like them.
Yep.
It's not the putter.
Yeah.
It's too long. It'd be like giving me a 50-inch driver or 55-inch driver or something silly. I would just pick that up and go, I'm not in that. I can't. It's too long. Yeah. So I know what length putter I want and like, and again, that's for experience. So I've tried many different lengths. I think putter length, when I've done putting sessions with my pupils, is quite a key point for helping them control face, path, strike, those kind of things. What have you found with length?
So,
Go on.
Historically, what we've seen with length is that people will just buy what the retailers have in the corrals. They see a 35-inch putter, they buy a 35-inch putter. That's what's assorted in the putter corrals in most stores around the world.
That was what I was just about to say. Why is 35-inch called standard? You guys need to change the standard, maybe.
So it's definitely shifted a lot.
Yeah.
As we look at our sales, it's about, and then I'm going to go back before counterbalance started because that throws a whole new wrinkle into it. But
absolutely.
It was typically 50% 35-inch, 40% 34-inch, and 10% 33-inch.
Okay.
We go to different markets around the world, like Japan. They tend to get a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But it was just the standard that was set at some time, and that's what people bought, and then people continue to buy it because their old putter was 35.
Yeah.
The tough part is, and I think about 10 to 20% of golfers really understand their putting stroke and do it consistently on a regular basis. Those are the guys that we can fit into length very easily, because they know where they kind of set up to the ball.
Yeah.
For the other consumers, they come in and they look at a putter and they're not sure where their stance should be. They're changing it very often, and so then you always want to err maybe slightly on the longer side, and I think that's why 35 inches worked pretty well.
Okay, but certainly a key factor in fitting for helping people control. I mean, I've gone through, I've changed lengths of putters with some people who have really struggled with delivery of face, even delivery of their kind of acceleration rates with the putter for controlling distance.
Yep.
And one of the things I do use is length of the putter can sometimes, not always, it's not like a blueprint for everyone, but for some people you can just spin their feel on their head by giving them a different feel length of putter.
That's right, and the head will always feel just a slight bit heavier when you cut a little bit of weight off or a little bit of shaft off the end and shorten it down, and so that's a good thing for some people to smooth out the stroke as well.
And then you've got lie as well in putting, the same as you have within an iron, and even in woods nowadays you're changing the lie obviously to dial in direction. Lie with the putter is going to allow you to make different strokes, because it's not particularly going to do anything to make the putter point more left or right, because the loft is so little, isn't it?
Correct.
So if you've got like a 9 iron with lots of loft and you toe ended up, it's going to go a long way left. So with a putter, what are you 2 degrees standard loft on most of your Odysseys, do you know?
We're 3 degrees loft, 70 degree lie.
Okay, so with 3 degrees loft, it doesn't matter if it was like this or like this, within reason it's going to be, you're going to be in the tolerance of still holding putts.
For the most part.
It would affect stroke, I imagine, wouldn't it, quite a lot?
It'll definitely affect the stroke.
And then face the path, those kind of things.
Yeah, typically when you see guys that get their lie angle, and the most common thing I see with amateurs, you get the toe up in the air. You tend to arc the stroke a little bit more, and you end up hitting it somewhere down here on the face and a little bit towards the toe.
Absolutely.
When you do that, you're not getting all the benefits of the putter. You're not going to hit as straight a putts as you normally would. So lie angle is incredibly important to give you the correct hit location on the putter. And even to move to loft, a lot of people have talked about loft and what you can do to roll, and that's very important with different green types. However, the way that we look at loft is almost more important for impact location. If you've got someone hitting it high on the face, you can give them a little bit more loft, and all of a sudden they're hitting it in the center of the face, and you're going to hold more putts. You're going to be more consistent. And so loft can almost be a better factor for just improving your hit location rather than trying to produce a certain roll or for certain types of greens.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think as well, obviously you've got a dynamic loft delivered with a putter. People understand that term a lot more now through drivers, delivering a dynamic loft. But if you want to get a roll of the ball, you need your dynamic loft to be somewhere in relationship to your angle of attack. So if you're hitting up or down, to make sure you're not putting backspin on it, that you are getting roll. And I've heard stories of some good putters having kind of almost zero loft because they then deliver 2, hit up 3 and get their roll. So dynamic loft in putters is as important as it is in a driver.
It really is.
And that's, I think, something that maybe lots of people don't understand. Good stuff. I could go on for hours because I love putting. It's one of my, I can, people can go on a range and hit hundreds of drivers. I could spend all day on a putting green hitting different putters. I just really enjoy it. I think lots of people don't enjoy it maybe as much as they could to help them. They enjoy trying to knock it over the range, where actually when you look at a putter, and often good putters, they're very aware of what dynamic loft they might deliver, what they know, they feel they like or not like in a putter. And that's one of the reasons why they're good putters, because they're thinking about it.
For the most part,
that's right. Absolutely. Good stuff. Thanks for your time, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Really good. Post comments down below. Putter fitting. I know most of you don't do it, but it's definitely something that I think could really knock some shots off your game if you just start to understand maybe how you're delivering different putters and which ones help you or do not. Post comments down below. As always, speak to you soon. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more videos. Find me on Instagram @Crossfield Mark. Also on Twitter @4golfonline. Find me on Facebook, Mark Crossfield. Thanks for watching. Post comments as always, and see you soon.